So we're here at the historic West Palm Beach Fishing Club, founded in 1934, and we're going to have a gathering of mullet gutters here today. I'm not even really sure exactly what that is. I kind of have a pretty good idea, but we're going to let the mullet gutters tell you a little bit about the role they played in the development and the history of offshore sport fishing in Palm Beach County. And our mullet gutters luncheon here today at the clubhouse is kind of dovetailing into a bigger project that we have underway where we're trying to document the history of offshore sport fishing here in Palm Beach County. You know, the world around us is changing rapidly, and sport fishing played a really significant role with regard to tourism, the development of the region, environmental factors. The catch and release ethic was spawned here at the West Palm Beach Fishing Club for Atlantic sailfish, and we're worried that some of that history is starting to slip away as some of our mullet gutter friends pass on to the other side. So we're really trying to capture old photographs, stories, and document this important part of Palm Beach County's cultural history. We're really excited about getting these guys together today to share some stories and old images. And frankly, if you know people that might fit who we're looking for, this is a call to action. We want to capture as much information as possible because we're building a mobile historical exhibit that we hope will be on display at a boat show or at a marina or a tournament down the road. Storyboards that really tell the history of the people, the places, the events, and the boats that shaped Palm Beach County's sport fishing history. All right, it's time. Let's meet some of these mullet gutters.
Well, that makes it sound like I've been here 100 years. Only really about a little bit less than that.
I'm Frank Patali and proud to be a mullet gutter.
A good supply of fresh bait is prepared from fish known as mullet. The section of the backbone is first removed to make him wiggle naturally when trolled through the water. And the final product is ready to go swimming. The bait is designed to look like an escaping fish, skipping and diving frantically over the surface.
I would think it's a mate, but that would be my guess. It would be a mate, a guy down there cleaning an old Charlie Hayden split tail out there digging in mullet. But I have no idea why they call themselves that. Maybe it's just an old term.
Back then, when we first started sail fishing, or at least when I first started sail fishing, our primary bait was a 6 to 8 inch finger or intermediate sized silver mullet. That mullet, as it comes out of the sea, has a stiff backbone. If you put it on a hook and you trolled it behind your boat at 5 to 6 knots, it's going to spin. So it didn't take very long to figure out that we had to take the bone out of it. And you could take the guts out, after you took the backbone out, you could take the guts out through the split back. So most of us called them split back mullets back in those days. And the guys that carved those up at 5 or 6 a.m. before going offshore, and we typically would take at least 3 dozen bait out, those were called mullet gutters. And I was one of them.
Years ago, we used to have to buy mullet and gut them, you know, to get them ready for bait, you know, for using. And I don't know how that ever came about, but, you know, it stuck with us.
A mullet gutter is us, you know, guys that grew up on the docks down here, and back when we first started doing this, you trolled with mullet and you trolled with ballyhoo, and we got our mullet whole every morning and brought them over to the marina where you clean your fish when you get in, and the guys would be elbow to elbow, split back and mullet, 1 dozen, 2 dozen, depending on, you know, the minimum you'd go out with would be like 3 dozen plus a couple dozen ballyhoo. But yeah, we were mullet gutters.
A hungry sailfish charges in, gives it a whack with his bill, and knocks the line from the outrigger. As the mullet sinks like a stunned fish, the sail turns around, picks him up, and leisurely starts to swallow. But don't set the hook yet. Leave the reel in free spool and count to 10 slowly. This gives the sail time to pick up the bait. Then the star drag is set, the hook is set, and the fight is on.
I probably became a member in like 1954, 55. Club's always been great. Back then it was Frances's club, Frances Doucette, who was a wonderful lady that supported all of us and did such a great job. She was like our mom. in many ways. We started out with a little 20-foot Trojan Seabreeze, little cabin cruiser that we took up to Robovich's and had them rig it up with outriggers. And back then it was an AM double sideband radio, 4 rod holders, and we were good to go. Eventually went on to getting together with Robovich, and we were able to build a couple Robovich boats as well, which was a great relationship and a great experience. I always refer to my early teens and middle teens as when I grew up at Robovich's, because I learned so much there about boat building and about fishing. I got to meet so many of the great captains and crews. It was among my favorite times in my life. In addition to the sail fishing, this area had such good inshore or nearshore fishing. The inshore species like snook and pompano, Spanish mackerel, and then king mackerel offshore, dolphin fish. It was just a very fishy place. And because there was a lot of facilities here, it was just a natural for fishing to be a driving force for this community to grow.
Well, back in the day, if you wanted to catch sailfish, this is where you came, between here and Stewart or Miami, and it seemed like it was better up here, and the further north you got, the better it would get. Palm Beach, you know, they had the airport, they had the facilities, hotels, motels, everything. Somebody could come in town for a day or a week and go fishing, and sail fishing put this place on the map.
I mean, the in thing to do when you came to Florida in the 1940s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and 60s was to go fishing. And one of the biggest things, of course, was to go sail fishing down here in the winter when our sailfish were very abundant and had migrated south to the Palm Beaches when the water got cold up north. So that's the main reason for this club doing so well. There's nothing else like it any place in the United States, according to Mike Ripkins, who's one of America's best recreational fishing historians.
2 fine billfish aboard. One will be mounted to decorate a den in memory of an exciting day at sea. The other will be smoked and relished as a table delicacy. In waters like these, it's no trick to catch one of the treasured blue water fighters.
You go back into the 20s and 30s and even into the 40s and 50s, and we used to catch sailfish out here, and a lot of times the charter boatmen would bring at least 1 or 2 in, but sometimes they bring a lot of them in, hang them up, take pictures. We've got the pictures in the historical ledger. It just seemed to some of our members that was the wrong way to be doing things. But it was popular because if you came in and you had 4 or 5 sailfish to hang up, you might get the charter the next morning before somebody else. They also were using all of the parts of the sailfish, the bill, the tail, the skin, to make mounts. So taxidermy was a big thing, and the charter boat captains could make some money if they could get a mount out of one of those fish. It took a long time to break that habit, but the fishing club really pioneered it. We invented in the 1930s, about 1938 I think was when we brought that red pennant that you could run up on your outrigger that signified a released sailfish. The charter boatmen got into it more and more, and so instead of killing these fish and bringing them back to brag a little bit, you run those red pennants up on your outrigger. That kind of ethic spread throughout Florida and throughout the East Coast, and eventually it's the kind of thing that recreational fishermen do all over the world. But this club actually had a huge sign that we put out at the Palm Beach Inlet, and it said, "Be a sportsman and release your sailfish," back in those days.
Like every other sail fisherman, though, we've got the bug now. We'll be back. With sport like that, how could you stay away?
If we go back in history and think about the 1930s and 40s and 50s, fishing, especially big game fishing, like sail fishing or marlin fishing or tuna fishing, was relatively new. They did it out in California to some extent at first, but it was the in thing to do down here in Florida. And we had a program that the club started that tied visitors to fishing in the Palm Beaches. We came out of this terrible depression back in the 30s and early 40s. Charter boatmen needed something to stimulate the tourist industry. So the fishing club developed a program where we were able to write stories about some of our visitors that came down and went sail fishing, send it back to their local newspaper, maybe you're in New York or Chicago or Philadelphia in the dead of winter, and tell the story about them coming to Florida and catching those sailfish. That got people a lot of attention, and it stirred tourist development in the Palm Beaches. Some people came from all over America. Some of them came back and stayed. So fishing was the in thing to do. You came down here in the dead of winter, get out of that cold, catch a sailfish, go back home, and they told a story about you. We did a good job at it, didn't we?
Fishing is very special to the Palm Beaches because that's where the excitement all began with the fishing. And one of the things that the people from up north during the wintertime could come and do, not so much golf, but the fishing was what they did. We had a big fleet of boats here that could take them out. We had wonderful sail fishing. We had tournaments to reward for them. We had clubs. It was quite the social occasion at the time.
This event today is dedicated to my father, Jack Morrell, through the West Palm Beach Fishing Club, and I very much appreciate it. His goal was just to keep all these guys together and, keeping his memory alive.
To sit in this room with this number of awesome boat captains and anglers, to bring back the history that, I grew up fishing on a sport fishing boat, and some of those guys they were icons back then. It's awesome. It really is awesome. It was great.